Toy Story 5 will be releasing in the summer of 2026. I'm really excited for it. You probably aren't, just based on the general consensus on the internet. Unless perhaps you're all for Stanton's return to the director's chair or just generally excited to see these characters back again. But that's not the focus of this video. Like it or not, we'll be seeing these toys run around for at least one more entry, and since we've started getting more information tidbits and a piece of concept art, we can start to infer which characters may be featured this time around. The Toy Story franchise has brought us so many beloved characters throughout each of their entries. There's no surprise that for decades, viewers have gravitated towards all sorts of them. Sheriff Woody and Buzz Lightyear are beloved members of animation and Western media, and it's not unexpected at all to see their reuniting and return in the new entry, as well as other old favorites such as Bo Peep, Jessie, and Rex, and some newer arrivals like Trixie, Mr. Pricklepants, and Forky, with the majority of returning characters under the care, we can call it, of Bonnie Anderson. We now have confirmation of Bonnie's return in the fifth film, which naturally makes sense with the progression of the franchise. I wasn't sure if there'd be a time skip or not, but it seems to not be too substantial of a jump, if any. It was 1 year from 3 to 4, and I'm expecting it to be around a 3-year jump or longer for this one as well. Her appearance in this entry seems to be substantial, at least based on the concept art, and this may be to the dismay of many. From Toy Story superfans to casual viewers of the franchise, one talking point that has been ever so prevalent is that Bonnie is an awful replacement for Andy Davis. And while typically jokingly, we'll see claims of her just being a terrible person put out, expressing hatred of the girl. And while, like I said, many of these are in a joking matter, let's address these in a serious manner for the sake of this video, but also an attempt to sway the general public's attitude towards this fictional kindergartner, because the root of it comes from somewhere. Bonnie first shows up in the third entry in the Toy Story soon-to-be quintology. She shows up a few times throughout the film, being an attendee at Sunnyside Daycare, and reminds Woody of his old playtime lifestyle, eventually becoming the owner of our favorite group of toys. The fourth film features Bonnie quite heavily, however, playing what is perhaps a more active role than Andy ever saw within the first two movies, and this seems to be where she lost a lot of the audiences. Throughout this film, we see as Bonnie starts kindergarten, creates life through Forky, which changes the audience perception of what makes a toy and the rules of this world, and what many view as the most egregious, starting to neglect Woody. Taking it back to the ground floor of Toy Story 4, a year after Andy nobly gifts these toys, these memories if you will, and Andy hesitantly hands over Woody even though this was not the intention of the donation, it seems as though Bonnie doesn't want to play with him any longer. Sometimes people get mad she cares more about a kitchen utensil crafted item more than him as well, and as, spoiler alert, Woody up and leaves the Anderson residence, the blame often falls on her for the toys not sticking together, as the ending of the film has grown to be more controversial for some fans over the past few years. I'll break down some of these points here. First, Bonnie still did play with Woody. It's not like Andy drove off and he was kicked to the curb. We have the Toy Story Toons shorts and the holiday specials highlighting various adventures, with most showing Bonnie taking Woody on trips. Eventually, she appears to gravitate towards Jessie as her Western hero. Woody is shown being left out of playtime, seemingly a reoccurring event. While some people have a problem with really just Woody being left out, and that could be a valid criticism, but this is just the story they were telling. These toys represent more than just toys, but if you don't want to look at it at that level even, the aliens and Mr. Pricklepants got disincluded from the RV trip, and Totoro, Chuckles, and Peas in a Pod are still in the toy box for this whole movie. Realistically though, I'd say it makes sense for a little girl to align herself with a cowgirl more than a cowboy. Sure, she has 2 potatoes and 2 dinosaurs, why not 2 cowboys? Just see the previous point, he wasn't left out too much it seems. Bonnie shifting over to newer toys, specifically Forky, who was just birthed, is a parallel that makes sense historically for the franchise and allows Woody to approach the neglecting from a helpful perspective, unlike his behavior with Buzz in the first film. Woody chooses to depart from his friends, his family essentially at this point. Like I said, a bit controversial in its own right. Maybe I'll recap Woody's journey to that point one day, though that would be a much longer video. And now that Bonnie is without the toy, we have our next big criticism. Andy's gonna be mad. I think this is an easy criticism to tackle. Bonnie's house is not a pawn shop. Andy shouldn't expect to go back to the front door when he has kids of his own, or he's just looking for a little extra money, and ask for his toys or ask to see them for that matter. A lot of people have the idea he's going to want to go back when he has kids so they can play with him, and no, that's not how this works. They were bestowed to her. They were given to her. She'll probably notice that she lost Woody, Not really, but you know what I mean, and that's that. I know Toy Story fans personally that won't buy anything that says Bonnie on the bottom of Woody or Buzz's shoes, and maybe they just want something more iconic to the first films of the franchise, the ones they grew up with. But again, it's usually followed by disdain, when really all she does in the franchise is get toys, get scared on the first day of school, play with the toy she created, and go on vacation. Not counting the specials and shorts, but it's basically still in that manner. She's 5, there's not much you can say, none of her actions have malice behind them, she doesn't know Woody has feelings even. I do feel bad for her as she struggles to find any friends during her first day of school, but perhaps some have changed their entire mind about the ending of Toy Story 3, with Bonnie receiving the toys as the franchise has continued to pedal on, and expressed disdain through her as an embodiment of the franchise's continuation. Maybe I'm just reading too much into things here. I assume this talking point will be on full display as the 5th film releases, especially as Bonnie looks to be neglecting everyone now, at least in the concept art as she's turned into an iPad kid. So truthfully, she's just a product of her time. Is Bonnie my favorite Toy Story character? Heck no. Nowhere near the top even, mine is my boy Wheezy, but I don't dislike her in any way, nor would I have any reason to. I think having a new kid who is far younger than their original, thus growing up in an entirely different environment, offers plenty of story potential, and I'd rather have a new kid serving as a conduit for story, you can call it I suppose, than having our original gang of toys just chilling up in the Davis's attic. I also just like Bonnie's original toys too. They're all pretty fun and a package deal with her, and I think they're able to elevate the cast of the franchise even. Maybe you hate the fact that her dad steps on Woody's head, but that's not even on Bonnie, and that guy almost gets arrested as karma even. I'm just kind of dragging the conversation at this point. I think a lot of this is going to come down to the comments though. This is a forum, a discussion. What do you think about Bonnie as a character and her place in the franchise? And while we're here, how much of her would you like to see in Toy Story 5? And also, I guess while we're here, what are your thoughts on Toy Story 5 in general? Where would you like to see it go? Thanks for watching as always, everybody. This one was a bit shorter than usual, still fun to make nonetheless. But I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.